She may be the Princess Royal, but is she also the Queen of Shade? Harry may be breaking tradition, but Anne's breaking bad with these two former royals. There's no doubt that Princess Anne is a Spitfire. In 1974, when she was only 23, she was returning to Buckingham Palace when another car forced her vehicle to stop and the man inside, Ian Ball, tried to kidnap her. When Ball tried to get Anne out of the car to score a ransom from her family, her response was, "Not bloody likely."
I was scrupulously polite.
This is who we're dealing with. As such, she's always been a staunch protector of those close to her, especially her nephews, Prince William and Harry. When Princess Diana died in 1997, Queen Elizabeth II attracted nationwide scorn for her absence from Buckingham Palace. The British people felt that she should return to London to grieve with them, per Hello magazine. What did Queen Elizabeth do instead? She stayed at Balmoral with her two grandsons. In a 2017 interview with ITV News, Anne praised her mother's decision because it was the best for the boys, saying, "I don't think either of those two would have been able to cope if they had been anywhere else. They had that structure, they had people around them who could understand, give them the time, little time that they had, which was never going to be very much to try and come, even in a fleeting sense, to terms with what had happened. Since the very beginning, she's had Harry's back and has been very protective of him." Since family is everything for Princess Anne, Prince Harry's marriage to Meghan Markle wasn't exactly a home run in her eyes. At least, this is what TV personality Deborah Davies told the Daily Star, revealing, "Princess Anne is fabulous. She just gives everything that she thinks away on her face. She doesn't need to say anything. You can see it in her eyes." Davies noted that Anne doesn't hide what she's thinking. Davies said that this was especially evident at Harry's wedding, where Anne, among other royals, was dubious about the match, adding, "Princess Anne is just like her dad was. Prince Philip could see straight through Meghan Markle." Anne's evident displeasure during social situations was oh so clear again at Philip's funeral in April 2021. Meghan, because of her pregnancy with daughter Lilibet, wasn't able to attend, something that royal biographers Carolyn Durand and Omid Scobie wrote about in Finding Freedom in an exclusive for E! News. Since Harry and Meghan had rocked the boat with their bombshell interview with Oprah Winfrey, the royal family was feeling touchy about the couple. According to Durand and Scobie, in truth, several members of the royal family are understood to have been quietly pleased that Meghan stayed in California because they didn't want a circus. In light of this, Anne evidently snubbed Harry at Philip's funeral, Express notes. Anne and Sophie Wessex, wife to her younger brother Prince Edward, were especially cold toward Harry at the sad event. True to the position of the royal family, Princess Anne avoids stating any political affiliation. It's the family code that royals, quote, "remain strictly neutral with respect to political matters," as the royal family's website notes. It was particularly distressing to Anne that she got dragged into a political debate in 2019 when former President Donald Trump visited Buckingham Palace. As Vanity Fair reports, when Queen Elizabeth II motioned to Anne to join the lineup, the princess shrugged her shoulders. Many took this to mean that she was snubbing Trump when, in fact, she thought her mother was asking if there was anyone else in the lineup. An insider explained to Vanity Fair, saying, "The princess was unhappy to be dragged into that particular story because she has always been careful not to be seen to be political in any way. She is also incredibly respectful, so any suggestion that she would laugh at anyone behind their backs was quite upsetting for her." Meanwhile, Meghan Markle could not be more different. In September 2020, Vogue asked whether she would become the political princess and cited a reporter who said Prince Harry and Meghan Markle chimed in on the US election and essentially encouraged people to vote for Joe Biden. Before anyone else predicted, Princess Anne foresaw that Meghan Markle wouldn't last long as a member of the working royals. Royal commentator Neil Sean, using his YouTube channel, recapped a meeting between Anne and Meghan that likely offered more tough love than Meghan was expecting. Sean explained that Meghan requested the meeting with Anne, knowing that she has a long-standing tradition of being one of the most hardworking royals. Anne's wisdom to Meghan was all about understanding that royal life is service and work, not celebrity status and glamour. As Sean described it, Princess Anne reiterated this mantra. She pointed out that it wasn't a working monarchy, it was a job. You turn up on time, you do your research, and do the duty. The meeting, as expected, didn't go very well. As Sean explained, according to an inside source, Meghan Markle failed to warm to Princess Anne. Apparently, as Sean saw it, Princess Anne always knew Meghan had a, quote, "very short shelf life in the roles of the monarchy." Since a major mantra of the royal family is don't explain, don't complain, we don't always know what's going on behind the scenes. Therefore, body language becomes even more interesting when it comes to the royals, compared to celebrities who can be candid about their thoughts. Body language expert Darren Stanton told the Wall Street Journal, "The Queen followed this very strict protocol that she was given by her father, not to show emotion, stiff upper lip. You've got to suck it up at all costs. While this might be the case, Princess Anne and Meghan Markle had an exchange in 2018 that was fascinating to body language experts like Judy James, who spoke with Express. The two women sat together at an event and had a mutually pleasant experience. James further explained, Meghan's passion for her causes and her eloquence, plus what looks like a shared sense of humor, did throw up some poses where the two women looked genuinely happy in each other's company. It's worth noting that this event preceded Meghan and Prince Harry's departure from the royal family, but it does show that Meghan and Anne had a positive rapport during the former's early days with the royals. James also noted that this was rare for Anne and that she didn't warm, for example, to the late Princess Diana. As should be obvious, Princess Anne is all about hard work and family loyalty, and when you're a member of the royal family, this translates to a busy life as a working royal. That's not to say that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle aren't hardworking or loyal to their families, it just means that it translated differently for them.
I'm thinking, how could you possibly take that long? I mean, it takes me 10 or 15 minutes.
This manifested when they announced on January 8, 2020, that they were stepping down as senior members of the royal family, per People magazine. Anne gave a dig at the couple a few months later when she spoke with Vanity Fair in May 2020. She admitted that she's not always a fan of change for the sake of change, and says that often, the tried and true way can be the most successful, adding, "I don't think this younger generation probably understands what I was doing in the past, and it's often true, isn't it? Nowadays, they're much more looking for, oh, let's do it a new way, and I'm already at the stage, please do not reinvent that particular wheel." That's about as big of a zinger as a royal family member can serve. But it's fair to say that Anne was not impressed by Harry and Meghan's decision to step away. Princess Anne was never enamored with the idea of the HRH title, which stands for His Royal Highness or Her Royal Highness. While Anne is formally known as the Princess Royal, being the eldest daughter to then monarch Queen Elizabeth II, she didn't want her children to have the same burden. As such, her daughter Zara Tindall and son Peter Phillips have no such encumbrances. According to Princess Anne in a conversation with Vanity Fair, "I think it was probably easier for them, and I think most people would argue that there are downsides to having titles, so I think that was probably the right thing to do." As Tindall describes it, the experience was a positive one, with her sharing with Express, "I'm very lucky that both my parents decided to not use the title, and we grew up and did all the things that gave us the opportunity to do." For Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, they faced a different experience with their two children, Archie and Lilibet, since they won't get the coveted title. As an insider described to The Sun, Harry and Meghan have been left furious that Archie and Lilibet cannot take the title HRH. That is the agreement. They can be prince and princess, but not HRH because they are not working royals. Clearly, the couple has very different ideas than Anne does about what HRH can mean for a kid and their future.
We're told by the palace that the issue of titles is going to be something that is going to be sorted out after the official mourning period.
After Queen Elizabeth II died, Princess Anne made history in the ways in which she honored her late mother. When the Queen's coffin was placed in Scotland at St. Giles Cathedral, Anne made history by being the first woman ever to stand beside the coffin in the historic tradition called the Vigil of the Princes. The tradition has to do with guarding the coffin, and she was joined by her brothers, King Charles III and Princes Andrew and Edward. She also walked behind the coffin in the procession prior to the Vigil of the Princes, along the streets of Edinburgh. Anne also wore the Royal Navy ceremonial uniform. Even though she hasn't served in the military, she has honorary titles, as The Sun reports. The experience was vastly different for Meghan Markle and Prince Harry following the Queen's death. There was considerable emphasis placed on the question of Harry wearing a military uniform, and he did not during the Queen's funeral procession, CNN notes. The reason was that Harry had stepped down from his royal duties and therefore would not be in uniform, even after having served in the British Army for 10 years. However, King Charles III changed protocol and said that Harry was granted permission to wear his uniform at the Queen's Vigil on September 17, 2022.